Vincent Simmons was accused of the rape of Karen Sanders and Sharon Sanders in 1977. They were 14-year-old white twins, and Vincent Simmons allegedly had brutally raped both of them, along with Keith Laborde, the cousin, who was, along with them, put in the trunk, pistol whipped, etc. And Vincent Simmons was charged with aggravated rape and identified by the victims as the rapist, and he was given a trial, lasted less than 2 days, and was given a 100-year sentence, 2 50-year sentences, and he's been serving in Angola prison ever since. End of story. Basically he threw away the key. Problem is, in 1994, a writ of mandamus was filed, which brought to light certain documents that were basically suppressed in the trial. The medical examiner report for both of the twins, the initial statements made by the victims, the initial interviews made by the victims, the police report, which included the shooting of Vincent Simmons while in police custody, etc. And up comes a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Stack, who was a documentary filmmaker, and he produced 2 documentaries. One was called The Farm, that was in 1998, and another one in 1999, Shadows of Doubt. The documentary The Farm was a compilation of several stories by Angola inmates, and the Shadows of Doubt focused on Vincent Simmons, and it basically brought to light these various documents that were suppressed in the trial. Not only in the trial, in the preliminary hearing. So one of the things that was brought to light in these documents was that Sharon Sanders, one of the twins, was found to be a virgin by the medical examiner. Now, a lot of people, specifically Eddie Knoll, the prosecutor in the case, have made the point, well, it didn't say virgin, it says her hymen was intact. The problem is that the medical examiner report contained one other factor, which really wasn't addressed by the former prosecutor, which I'll talk about a little later. I don't want to get into it now, but I'll talk about it in a few minutes. But another one of the factors in the suppressed documents was that Vincent Simmons is not named in any of the initial statements, the initial interviews, except for the medical exam report. The problem being that in the preliminary hearing and the trial, all of the victims said, oh, he said his name was Vincent Simmons from the beginning. Let me back up a little bit. Basically, the alleged incident began at a 7-Eleven in Marksville, Louisiana on Tunica Drive. Allegedly, the victims, Sharon Sanders, Karen Sanders, and Keith Laborde, had left their grandparents' house to go to Keith Laborde's house to help clean the house. Keith Laborde, the 18-year-old cousin. His wife was in the hospital. She was pregnant. There was some type of complication in regard to her condition with diabetes, and she was supposed to get discharged the following day, and Keith Laborde had asked his two 14-year-old cousins to go over to his house, help him clean up the house, because he wanted his house to look nice for his wife, who was coming home the next day. Well, after they cleaned the house about 9 o'clock, on the way back to the grandparents' house to drop the two twins off, Keith noticed that he was low on gas, so he stopped at the 7-Eleven. And here they supposedly met Vincent Simmons. Now, in the initial statements, all they say is black man, nigger, color guy, etc. Never mentioning the name Vincent Simmons. In the preliminary hearing and the trial, they all say, well, he said his name was Simmons from the beginning. But anyway, so Vincent Simmons supposedly starts arguing with Keith Laborde, saying, you tried to hit me, etc., etc. And apparently they make up. Vincent Simmons asked to be taken home or to a party. It differs depending on which part of the initial statements you read. And he says, turn here, turn there, turn here. They're driving down some dirt road, which turned out to be Little California Road. And subsequently, Vincent Simmons is said to have raped Sharon Sanders for about 30 minutes. And in the initial statements, there is no description of Vincent Simmons having trouble penetrating her. This only occurs in the preliminary hearing and in the trial, probably because the prosecution feared that the medical examiner report stating that Sharon Sanders was had her hymen intact, would come to light, and they would have a way out of that. But in the initial statements, there is no description of this having trouble, quote unquote, penetrating her. All she says is that he raped her for 30 minutes. He ejaculated in her. And then he subsequently raped Karen Sanders vaginally, rectally, orally, for an hour and a half.